A psychic detective is a person who investigates crimes by using purported paranormal psychic abilities. Examples have included postcognition, psychometry, telepathy, dowsing, clairvoyance, and remote viewing. In murder cases, psychic detectives may purport to be in communication with the spirits of the murder victims. Although there are documented cases where individuals claiming psychic abilities have assisted police in solving crimes, there is considerable skepticism in regard to the general use of psychics under these circumstances. Prominent cases: many prominent police cases, often involving missing persons, have received the attention of alleged psychics. Following the disappearance of Elizabeth Smart on June 5, 2002, the police received as many 9,000 tips from self-proclaimed psychics. Responding to these tips took many police hours, according to Salt Lake City Police Chief Lieutenant Chris Burbank. Yet, Elizabeth Smart's father, Ed Smart, concluded that the family didn't unregistered trademark get any valuable information from psychics. Smart was located by observant witnesses who recognized her abductor from a police photograph. No psychic was ever credited with finding Elizabeth Smart. In the case of the Long Island serial killer, the psychic said the body would be found in a shallow grave, near water, and a sign with a G in it would be nearby. Despite the vagueness of this claim, the New York Post stated that the psychic nailed it. More surprising than the psychic's failure is the fact that this information was described as an amazing success on over 70,000 websites without anyone realizing that she was completely wrong. When Washington, D.C. intern Chandra Levy went missing on May 1, 2001, psychics from around the world provided tips suggesting that her body would be found in places such as the basement of a Smithsonian storage building, in the Potomac River, and buried in the Nevada desert, among many other possible locations. Each tip led nowhere. A little more than a year after her disappearance, Levy's body was accidentally discovered by a man walking his dog in a remote section of Rock Creek Park. The case of Sean Hornbeck received the attention of psychics after the 11-year-old went missing on October 6, 2002. Most notably, self-proclaimed psychic Sylvia Brown appeared on the Montel Williams show and provided the parents of Sean Hornbeck a detailed description of the abductor and where Hornbeck could be found. Brown responded no, when asked if he was still alive. When Hornbeck was found alive more than 4 years later, few of the details given by Brown were correct. Sean Hornbeck's father, Craig Akers, has stated that Brown's declaration was one of the hardest things that we've ever had to hear, and that her misinformation diverted investigators, wasting precious police time. In August 2010, Aboriginal elder Cheryl Carroll Lagerwelly claimed to have seen the location of a missing child, Kiesha Abrahams, in her dream. The missing child's disappearance was being investigated by police. She took them to a location where a dead body was found, however it was of an adult woman and not the body of the child. A body was located in the U.S. by psychic Annette Martin. Dennis Prado, a retired U.S. paratrooper, had gone missing from his apartment and police had been unable to locate his whereabouts. With no further leads, the chief investigating officer, Fernando Relay Vasquez, a sergeant with the Pacifica Police, contacted psychic detective Annette Martin. Prado had lived near a large forest, some 2,000 square miles. Martin was given a map. She circled a small spot on the map, about the size of 2 city blocks. She said that Prado had struggled for breath, had died, and his body would be there within the indicated area. She described the path he took, and where the body would be found. Although the area had been searched before and Prado had not been found, a search and rescue officer initiated a new search with the help of a search dog, as Martin suggested a search dog is going to find him. They found the body covered with dirt at the location, as Martin had indicated. While the body had deteriorated, there was no evidence that he had been attacked, and it is thought likely he had died of natural causes, as she also indicated. In 2001, the body of Thomas Braun was located by Perth-based Aboriginal clairvoyant Leanna Adams in Western Australia. Police had initially been unable to find the body. The family of Braun had been told to contact Adams, an Aboriginal psychic who lived in Perth. The Braun family had requested police to do a search based on Adams' unregistered trademark directions, but they had not assisted. Adams went to Alice Springs in the Northern Territory, and took the family members directly to Braun unregistered trademark S remains, a spot high on a ridge west of the town, some 20 kilometers out. The remains were not immediately identifiable. Police later confirmed the remains to be his using DNA testing. In Sydney, Australia in 1996, a Belgian-born Sydney psychic, Philip Durand, was approached by the fiancée of missing Paula Brown to help locate her. Durante told police the location of the body of Brown. She was found less than 2 kilometres of the spot he had indicated in Port Botany, New South Wales, by a lorry driver who came across the body. Even though the body was discovered purely by chance, the speculation by a clairvoyant appears to have been uncannily accurate, a police spokeswoman conceded. Durand had used a plumb bob and a grid map, combined with some hair from the victim. Official police responses. Many police departments around the world have released official statements saying that they do not regard psychics as credible or useful on cases. In Australia Australian police, officially, in general have said that they do not accept assistance from psychics. This was in response to an Australian TV show Sensing Murder, in which self-professed psychics attempt to crack unsolved murders. Western Australian police have a policy that they do not contact psychics for assistance with investigations, however they will accept information contributed by psychics. An unnamed Australian federal police officer was suspended following his seeking the aid of a clairvoyant in regard to death threats made against Prime Minister John Howard. A federal police spokesman said they do not condone the use of psychics in security matters. There are still cases of psychics professing to have trained with the Australian police and failing to provide credible evidence to support qualifications or evidence of being a psychic profiler or intuitive profiler with the Australian police. While official policy for police forces in Australia does not advocate the use of psychics for investigations, one former detective senior constable, Geoffrey Little, has said police do use them even though they officially say they don't. Additionally, police in NSW have used psychic Debbie Malone on a number of cases. While no evidence she has supplied has solved murders or missing investigations on their own, her evidence had been used to corroborate theories, and in one case, included in a coroner's brief on a case. Little, in reference to one case she assisted on, felt her description of what happened was exceptional. Other officers also had been impressed by her assistance, while yet other NSW officers felt she had not helped solve any cases. Sergeant Gay Creer and Detective Sergeant Damien Loon state that she did not give them anything the police and the public didn't already know. Creer recounts, "I've dealt with a lot of psychics, but no one has ever said, I can see where the body is buried and I'll take you there." In New Zealand New Zealand police have said spiritual communications were not considered a creditable foundation for investigation. In the United Kingdom in 2006, 28 British police forces responded to a query from the Association for Rational Inquiry to say that they did not and have never used psychics, one force saying we are unaware of any inquiries significantly progressed solely by information provided by a psychic medium. In 2009, when the Metropolitan Police had denied the use of psychics and were then presented with emails suggesting the use of a psychic, they made a press statement authorized by the senior investigating officer that was much more ambiguous. "We do not identify people we may or may not speak with in connection with inquiries. We are not prepared to discuss this further." In the United States A 1993 survey of police departments in the 50 largest cities in the United States revealed that a third of them had accepted predictions from psychic detectives in the past, although only 7 departments treated such information any differently from information from an ordinary source. No police department reported any instances of a psychic investigator providing information that was more helpful than other information received during the course of a case, since any information has to be proved. Only information matching other evidence could be used. A follow-up study looking at small and medium-sized cities in the United States found that psychics were called upon by the police departments of those cities even less frequently than large cities. A former senior investigator for the FBI has stated that psychics may be used as a last resort, and as an investigative tool with caution for providing clues not directly admissible in the court of law, such as a criminal's character, or the location of dead bodies. Scientific studies. A number of tests are being conducted on psychics detectives, using control groups, to try to establish any psychic ability relating to crime solving. One of the earliest was carried out by Dutch police officer, Philippus Brink in 1960. He conducted a year-long study of psychics, but found no evidence of any crime-solving abilities. Another study was conducted in 1982 where evidence from 4 crimes was given to 3 groups: psychic detectives, students and police detectives. The clues related to 4 crimes, 2 crimes that had been solved, and 2 that had not been. The study found no difference between the 3 groups in ability to indicate what crimes had been committed by looking at the evidence. Some flaws in the scientific method were apparent in these 2 tests. A further test was conducted in 1997, this test focusing on improving on the scientific methods used in the previous tests. This study used 2 groups, one consisting of 3 students from the University of Hartford, the other group consisting of 3 psychics. The 2 groups were shown 3 objects associated with 3 serious crimes. They then advocated theories, but once again, no difference was found in terms of the accuracy between the 2 groups. To assess the claims of psychic crime solving, the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal established a task force of investigators. The group recorded many failures by psychics to provide useful information to criminal investigators, and felt that psychics may use retrofitting, offering vague clues, and then trying to retroactively fit them to details that are only discovered later. In addition to cases of retrofitting, the apparent use of cold reading, exaggeration, and examples where the psychic has used non-psychic sources of information, were also reviewed. In 2008, while being interviewed for the Skeptico podcast, managing editor of Skeptical Inquirer magazine, Ben Radford challenged the host Alex Tsakiris to give him the best case for evidence of a psychic solving a crime. Tsakiris had repeatedly accused skeptical investigators of purposely choosing the weakest cases. Radford agreed to investigate in depth a case from any period in history, around the world, that presented the gold standard for evidence. Tsakiris chose psychic Nancy Weber, who in 2006 appeared on an episode of the biography channel Psychic Investigators. Weber claimed to have helped the New Jersey police solve the serial murders of Amy Hoffman and Deirdre O'Brien from 1982. The police arrested James Koadatic in 1983, who was later found guilty of serial murder. Psychic investigators interviewed Weber as well as the 2 police detectives she worked with, Hughes and Moore, who verified Weber had given them information she could not have known. Radford spent the next 9 months reviewing the case. He and Tsakiris re-interviewed the detectives as well as the psychic on the Skeptico podcast. Radford discovered that the detectives had not kept their notes from the case and their story had changed since the TV show aired. In fact, he found that their stories now contradicted the psychic story. A further discovery by Radford using the New Jersey phone book from 1982 found that if the psychic had indeed given the detectives all the evidence she claimed she had, the police could have discovered the killer with a 15-minute search through the phone book. Radford believes that the police and the psychic simply fell prey to confirmation bias. Critical commentary. ABC's Nightline Beyond Belief program for August 17, 2011 featured psychic detectives and their involvement with the case of ALll Loitzer. Typical of missing person cases, families are approached by people claiming they will help bring the missing home. They told me, "I see trees, water, dirt." But it is all very vague, according to Susan Loitzer, a mother whose daughter has been missing since April 26, 2010. Retired FBI agent and ABC consultant Brad Garrett states, "In 30 years, I have never seen a psychic solve a mystery." JREF investigator and mentalist Banashk feels that psychic detectives take advantage of families. Because of fame and money, they step in and try to act like an authority. Banashk believes that not all psychic detectives are frauds, some are self-deluded and believe they are helping, but they send police on wild goose chases, wasting precious time and resources. psychic Georgia O'Connor states that ALll is dead. She was tortured and her body dismembered. When asked by ABC's Judia Chang how can she tell parents this kind of information when she might be wrong, O'Connor replies, "I can't let my ego get in the way of what I see." Despite the attention from psychic detectives, ALll Loetzer remains missing from her Spring, Texas home. No psychic detective has ever been praised or given official recognition by the FBI or U.S. national news for solving a crime, preventing a crime, or finding a kidnapped victim or corpse. The Australian Institute of Criminology, Australia's official crime research agency, advises parents of missing children not to resort to using psychics who approach them. Former FBI analyst and profiler Clint Van Zandt has criticized the use of psychic detectives and has stated that, "What happens many times is that professed psychics allow themselves the benefit of 20/20 hindsight. After the case is solved, they make their previously vague predictions somehow fit the crime and the criminal." A detailed 2010 study of Sylvia Browne predictions about 115 missing persons and murder cases has found that despite her repeated claims to be more than 85% correct, Browne has not even been mostly correct in a single case. Belief in psychic detectives, psychologists, researchers and other authors have posited a number of possible explanations for the belief that some can provide valuable crime information from psychic abilities. The possible explanations include confirmation bias, wishful thinking, and retrofitting. The act of reinterpreting vague and nebulous statements made by psychic detectives is also referred to as the multiple out. Taking advantage of these cognitive limitations is the practice of cold reading, which creates the illusion of knowing specific information. Additionally, police detectives and other authors suggest that psychic detectives appear successful due to making common sense or high probability predictions such as finding bodies at dump sites or near water. While police departments claim they do not seek out or use psychics to solve crimes, they must follow up on all credible tips. If police do not refute this theory, then many in the public continue to believe that psychics are secretly employed by law enforcement. If the police state they do not use psychics, then psychics claim that the police do not want to share the credit, and are just covering up. Finally, the use of psychics may simply reduce anxiety and fill the emotional needs of individuals who must be experiencing great stress. In fiction, there is a long history of psychic detectives in horror and crime fiction, and in other genres as well. One of the earliest forms of the genre was the character Flaxman Lowe, created in 1897 by mother and son Kate and Hesketh Pritchard. Other examples include Jules de Grandin, Dr. Occult and Agent Darcy McClellan, created by Cheryl K. Tardif. The popular TV show, Psych, features a charlatan paranormal detective helping the Santa Barbara police with crimes that range from robberies to kidnappings to murders. However, the man actually uses an acute sense of observation he acquired as a child, an eidetic memory, excellent vision, and deduction and reasoning to solve cases, making a running gag of his claim to be a psychic. In Douglas Adams's Dirk Gently novels, the titular character a holistic detective is implied to have psychic powers on occasion. One incident involved Gently attempting to scam his university classmates into paying for a set of answers to an exam, supposedly obtained using psychic powers that Gently did not think he had. To his surprise, the answers he provided, which he thought he had produced randomly, turned out to be entirely correct. He was expelled as a result. Peter F. Hamilton wrote a series of books about the ex-military psychic Greg Mandel. In the series, Greg was a retired Special Forces soldier created as part of an elite Spec Ops unit, the Mine Star Brigade, in the English Army, having fought a vicious war in Turkey and helped a rebellion overthrow the People's Socialist Party at home. Having won the rebellion, he then retired to Rutland, suddenly being called out of retirement by the rich heiress Julia Evans to use his psychic talents to find the root of industrial espionage against her company, Event Horizon, an organization that was also integral to the overthrow of the communist government. The series not only focuses on Greg's abilities, but also the abilities of other psychics created as part of the MindStar program, the effects of social and economic change throughout the 21st century, global warming and rapid scientific advances. Greg regularly uses his abilities both for interrogation and as an offensive weapon. The episode Bart the Murderer of The Simpsons depicts a psychic joining the hunt to find Principal Skinner. The episode Cartman's Incredible Gift of South Park depicts a skeptical view of psychic detectives. The Japanese manga and anime series Yu Yu Hakusho depicts a teenage boy named Yusuke Urameshi working as a spirit detective, which is a human who hunts down demons using supernatural abilities. See also, occult detective, parapsychology, psychic archaeology, Ganzeld experiment, scientific investigation of telepathy, pseudoscience, list of topics characterized as pseudoscience, Marcello Truzzi, Committee for Skeptical Inquiry, Gerard Croizet. Literature, Richard Wiseman, Donald West and Royce Demon, An Experimental Test of Psychic Detection. In Journal of the Society for Psychical Research. 1996, 61, 842, 34-45. References